Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to episode, it's either 85 or 86, I'm sorry. Whatever the episode number in the title is correct. Episode 86 or so of The Knife Guy. If you're new to my channel or you just came out of some weird corner of the internet and you have no idea where you are or who I am, I'm a knife guy, knife enthusiast, knife collector, knife user, knife enjoyer of many sorts. We are all knife guys and knife gals in this super duper weird EDC and knife related world. And we all go down our own unique paths, but oftentimes those paths intersect and we experience a lot of the same stuff. That's what this series is all about. I like to pick up knives that are either mine or some of my generous viewers and sort of flip them out, take a look at them, turn them over, right? Just sort of fidget with them while I talk about these things that we all generally experience, hopefully. And give you guys something to kick back and either watch or just listen to on this hopefully beautiful Sunday morning, evening, afternoon, or is that all the times of the day? Morning, afternoon, and evening. Wherever you are or whatever time it is, this is for your enjoyment. So, I did a knife guy a while back called 2020 Sucked, and we talked about, you know, a few things in there. This is another hybridization episode. It's also an episode that I might actually turn into a discussion topic during the week or on the weekend, you know, on my channel here coming up. But, yeah, obviously 2020 sucked, and we all, I think, want to, you know, we have hope that 2021 is going to be better. I don't think we're off to a fantastic start, but okay, glass half full, right? This channel is all about knives. It's just about knives, and I'm going to keep it that way. I intentionally steer away from controversy or things that would make people feel divided. I want people to come together on this channel and enjoy the stuff that we all enjoy, and that's knives, right? So, I am excited for 2021. I think that the knife world is going to see, you know, in some ways, on this, you know, on one end of the teeter-totter, I think a lot of companies are faced with difficulties for, you know, lack of resources in some situations, lack of staff in a lot of situations. And so, in some ways, I think 2021 will limit the knife world. But in other ways, I think, you know, a lot of these companies have shown us that when, you know, forced into a certain position, that's kind of where the creativity shines. So, it's possible that 2021 will be one of the most interesting years in the knife world because of all of the limitations. And I do have high hopes. We're also at a point where, you know, certain processes and certain, you know, materials are, you know, that used to be exclusive to a certain price tier, right? We're seeing, you know, those things come down in price, and, you know, also because of the processes cost less. And we're seeing some really extravagant stuff coming out of, you know, some of the higher, like, for example, I remember in 2014 seeing, like, you know, exotic inlay work and fall shut action and, you know, like the heavy contouring and the heavy, like, 3D milling and stuff like that. I remember seeing that being exclusive to the multiple hundreds of dollars, right? Like, in a lot of cases, over $500. Now we're seeing, you know, I've seen a lot of that stuff, you know, sub $400, and it's been really impressive. And I think that that kind of thing is only going to get better. Obviously, we're still going to have, you know, stuff like this cost well over $1,000, or in this case, it's actually closer to $2,000, and handmade stuff like that. But I think every tier in the knife world is going to see, you know, another bump in just impressiveness, and I'm excited for that. That's legitimately what makes me excited all the time. And the nice thing is there's still going to be so much coming out that there's no, I mean, even a channel like mine who's reviewing or uploading videos twice a day, I have no hope of covering everything. And reminding myself of that makes me excited. I'm ready for the weird stuff. I'm ready for the ultra utilitarian, right? Whatever 2021's definition of the most utilitarian. I'll give you an example of something that just blew my mind and made me so excited. The Terrain 365 Invictus. Holy crap. Have you seen that? Okay, first off, we'll just talk about this for a second. I've talked about the guy who worked for Prometheus or the guy who runs Prometheus Design Works, I think used to work with Triple Aught Design, which is why the TAD Dauntless and the Prometheus Design Works Invictus look similar. But this Terrain 365 company who's put out some other interesting stuff, collaborated with Prometheus Design Works, and created an Invictus, both in G10 and titanium. There's one in titanium, one in G10 and titanium. And the blade is made out of, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it correctly, Teravantium, which is, first off, that sounds awesome, right? But it's one of those steels that is impervious. Well, actually, it's impossible. It won't rust, right? Or it won't corrode. I don't know the rules behind that, right? And then the entire, it's titanium, and then the hardware's titanium. Basically, it's something that can just sit in water forever, and it's fine. Do we need that? No. We don't need that. Some people probably would. Somebody who works in the ocean all the time, I think, would make plenty use of that. But do we all need that? No. But does it appeal to a huge chunk of the knife community just because it's interesting? Yeah. I love seeing that. It's a great example of like, oh, that's cool. Keep doing that. Keep doing crazy stuff like that, right? Seeing these, are they cobalt based or stuff that's less super steel in the traditional sense and more like an exotic variant of this thing that can be turned into a blade and cut and function. I love that, right? We're going so far outside of the realm of necessary. Right. Define necessary how you will. I know people like, all I need is my buck 110 and everything else is just a bunch of hodgepodge and jewelry and I don't need... Okay, that's fine, but I'm still really glad that this stuff exists, right? What a boring world, what a boring knife world we'd live in if everything that exists out there was the buck 110 or the bug out or whatever it is that we use as like a stand, like the point where, it didn't necessarily... A lot of people define those areas as like, it never needed to go beyond that. Okay, I'm super glad that it did. And I'm also really happy with the inevitability that it will continue to go beyond that. So happy about that. It's exciting. I wish I could stand here and tell you, that I'm excited for Blade Show 2021 and that I'm definitely going to go, but it's just seeming like it's probably not going to be a thing for me this year. We'll see, how the end of 2021 goes, but I just feel like I'm so overdue to go to Blade Show and experience that, right? But if I got to wait another year, I'll wait another year. I'm patient, right? There's a lot, I know that there's going to be enough coming out that's going to keep my enthusiasm really, really high. And, other innovations like precursors to, or sort of hints at interesting things. The AD20, I've highlighted this so many times, but guys, this thing, it's just by itself is something that I think points out that there's obviously a market for beautiful, just sorry, we're at an angle here, but just amazing fidget factor, right? This combines fidget factor with strength, and then it's also in, it takes this form that's like meaty and robust, right? And stuff like that. I'm so happy that the draw was so powerful with so many people. Every time I show that thing, people are like, oh my God, I love that, right? It's so powerful. I love that that's the case. Because we're going to see, hopefully, interesting locking systems, like variations of these different sliding, fidgety, clicky locks, right? Again, do we need it? No. Am I happy that, stuff like that is obviously going to come out in the future? Yes. I love the idea of wild... I don't know that we're going to see a whole lot of difference in terms of like handle. I think titanium is obviously still going to be a big thing. G10 still going to be a big thing. I'm kind of hoping that we start to see zirconium make it. I've seen a few, like the Riat Tribute had some zirconium on it and had a reasonable price. Oh, I'd love to see zirconium come down into a more reasonable territory with knives. I would love to see makers start messing around with that. Zirconium, I think, is a little bit dangerous to work with because it throws sparks. It throws a lot more sparks than titanium or steel or other materials like that. Other materials that you would grind into a shape or form into a shape, CNC into a shape, whatever, right? But I'd love to see that take place. I think zirconium can't be used as a raw lock face. You'd have to have an insert, right? And I think making a full zirconium knife would be incredibly expensive. But I would like to see more knives with zirconium bolsters, right? In this more reasonable. I'm talking like the 3 to 500 range, because I don't think we're going to start seeing zirconium that low. But stuff like that, it's just one example. I'd like to see stuff like that. We are seeing, oddly enough, we're seeing Timascus. We're seeing Timascus, come down. There's some Chinese companies who are, offering Timascus in the $200 to $400 range. Yeah, more of that, please. I think that's wonderful. I'd love to see more and more and more of that, because I can't afford to. Listen, if it's a U.S. knife maker and it's a full custom knife and it's all handmade and the whole thing is Timascus, yeah, that's gonna cost a lot of money, right? Anybody who thinks like, well, Artisan Cutlery made a knife and it's got a Timascus inlay and it's only $300. Well, doesn't mean that American companies or American knife makers can make an entire knife out of Timascus and that should be the same price. No, but I'd like to see, I'm hoping that we see more and more and more Timascus, coming down into a lower price point, so that people who can't afford the multi-$1,000 full custom knives in Timascus can still enjoy it. I'd like to see that more often, right? So, I love the explosion of new steels. New steels everywhere. There's just a ton of crazy steels came out, right? And we don't need that much variation, but it keeps things interesting. It keeps people engaged, right? There's no one person that needs all of these different variations of things. Obviously, that's not why it's happening. It's happening because there's a crazy flood of people who over the last few years have suddenly become interested in the knife world. And there's this massive demand for variation, so that you're catering to all these different audiences, right? People who prefer specific things, or who don't know what their preferences are, that have spent more or less time in the knife world, right? We have all of these companies that are doing a lot of these. I mean, like we talk about like ProTech and Spyderco, right? Really trying to cater to as many different people as possible. I think Rick Hinderer is also doing a great job of that. Some of my favorite companies listed right there. I love that. You also have these, these brand new sort of startup companies. These people, there's always like people starting knife companies in their garage and they're just making everything in small batch. I love seeing that, because generally when we see those types of makers like on this amazing meteoric rise, like within the year, it's because they're doing something different, or they're doing something weird. They're doing something not always innovative, but they're making something that we haven't seen a lot of before, or at all, right? I'm so excited to see who's going to rise up in 2021 and bring something exciting to the table. It's just, I don't know, it's just something that's very exciting to me. I'm still going to appreciate knives like the Ritter Hogue that's been a big staple on this channel. It's just, for the long time I said that the Ritter Hogue was essentially the point of diminishing returns. I think I said that sometime around 2018. Right, M390 G10 made in the U.S. Still a great knife for $160, right? I mean, I guess let's throw this in here. Knives that have been like enormous staples in certain areas, right? The Rat has just always been like this thing that people fall on when they talk about a really good budget knife, right? PM2, when you talk about Spyderco knives and the compression lock, the PM2 still. Right, and the Para 3, where's that guy at, right? Same thing, both in the same place. Benchmade Griptilian or Ritter Hogue, right? Still that area. Every year, as much as I love, my knives that have been staples in one area or another, I'm always hoping for the next PM2, the next Benchmade Griptilian, the next ZT-0562, the next Para 3, the next Rat, right? A lot of knives have kind of come to stand side by side with those models. This is just my perspective. But a knife that has stepped in and clearly beat it out, right? I know that it's probably, it's hard to like really beat out the PM2 for the position that it's in. People are going to say, I think the Capera already did that, or the Kapara already did that, or the Spyderco Shaman already did that, or the whatever it is that you think. But as far as like the numbers go for some of these knives, when I'm constantly looking at which knives are, selling really well at retailers, you'll always see the bug out. You'll always see the same type of stuff, like always up there. I'm excited to see the next knife to either come up and stand side by side with those knives, or to surpass it. One day, as time would have it, as time will have it, inevitably, there will be knives that will eventually shove it out, right? Buck 110, still a knife that people kind of, really lean on. But from my perspective, there are already tons and tons of knives out there that sell better and are obviously more popular. So that's an example of a knife that was so prevalent for so long and is still a choice for a lot of people. But is it top dog anymore? No, it's not. You look around at retailers that offer a lot of the knives that I'm talking about, and they also offer the Buck 110. It's just not quite as high on the list anymore. It's just not. Numbers don't lie to you. They'll tell you the truth, right? People will jump in and say, well, that's because the modern knife enthusiast who's not nearly as in tune with what makes a good user, right? They just don't know, and that's whatever. I mean, time and the way that it progresses and like this market for the knife world, it's just going to progress how it's going to progress, and old models that used to be king are going to drop down the ladder, and new models are going to take their place for one reason or another. And a lot of it will largely be novelty stuff, right? A lot of it will be unnecessary stuff like crazy super steels that the average user will never make perfect use of, materials that we don't necessarily need, or refinements that don't necessarily bring an enormous amount of additional utility to the model. But it's going to happen, right? Time will move forward, and it will bring new things. Some things for better, some things for worse, but it will progress. And these progressions, right, these advancements are going to be interesting. Comparing and contrasting, you guys know I make very long-winded, just like what you're watching right now. I make very long-winded videos where I talk about this stuff, and I'm excited about it. I don't know how many new steels we're going to see, but here's another thing that I'm really excited about. Steels like Rex 45, Maximit, S45 VN. I'm very excited to see what some of these companies do with some of these steels. Rick Kinder obviously already on board with S35 or S45 VN. Chris Reeve, I think. Chris Reeve Knives. I think maybe we're going to see some of that, or maybe we're already seeing it. I'd love to see companies that have always had, like Benchmade and S30V, right? ProTech and 154CM. I love 154CM. I think ProTech, would probably attract a lot of people if they had more variances in their steel, stuff like that. I'll continue to buy 154CM ProTech products, right? But for other people who kind of really want the newest and the best, it'll be interesting to see them come out with more models, right? We're going to see that. I think we're going to see more Maximit, more S45VN, K390, right? Rex 45. I think Spyderco is going to lead the way there. They're always coming out with the wild and crazy steels, right? I'd love to see Damasteel being offered periodically at a lower price point. I think that's largely going to be with the Chinese companies. I think that's just going to be the case. If you're wanting to get your hands on Damasteel in the $250 to $350 range, you're going to be seeing that from Chinese companies. I expect that. That's cool. Whatever's going to come out, I'm excited to see it, right? Excited to talk about it. I hope you guys are too. My goal for 2021 is to bring you guys as much content as possible, to bring you guys the most interesting knives possible. We're going to, as usual, we're going to talk about new stuff. We're going to talk about U.S. stuff. We're going to talk about foreign-made stuff. And we'll return to the past periodically. We're going to do that. But to bring you guys the newest and the weirdest and give my opinions on what's the best, what's overrated, what's underrated, right? It's going to be, what I did in 2020, but with newer stuff. That's what I want to do. I also want to bring maybe some new series to the channels. To the channel. Maybe start a series with different, a certain type of discussion that can, continue for, 10 different episodes like I used to do. And I also want to do more to collaborate with some other channels. I think that's, I had a discussion with another large, a channel that's much larger than mine. I had a discussion with this person here just yesterday about how I think it's good to collaborate with other channels and to talk and to interact and just compare and contrast and give different ideas and different opinions, come at it from different perspectives. It's fun to do that. And I think that's it's really good to point. It's funny, like Slicey Dicey and I always talk about this. That's not who I was talking with about the collaboration thing, but people periodically, I wasn't aware of this until he started pointing out, but apparently there are people who are shocked that he and I like interact and get along, and we were so confused by that. Why? Like, of course we talk, and we both have YouTube channels, and we're both consistently uploading, and we're looking at a lot of the same stuff. So of course we talk, you know, off camera. And there's a lot of channels that I talk with, a lot, and I think it would be really fun to interact with a lot of those channels on their channel and on mine, and just sort of bring them in and have a discussion and talk about different things. And I feel like you guys would enjoy that, especially, you know, as we enter a whole new year with new stuff. And, you know, so we've a lot of us have been doing this for, like, for me, as far as like being involved in the knife world, like heavily involved in the higher end of the knife world, or the enthusiast knife world, it's been about 9 or 10 years. I always say anywhere from 7 to 11 because I can't remember. I can't pinpoint the exact moment that I was like, I am a knife enthusiast, you know, somewhere in there. Some of the guys I talk with have been doing stuff, or they've been in this world for 20 years. Some of them have been doing it for 3 to 5, right? We all have different perspectives and stuff. So as the knife world evolves for all of us, we all have slightly different opinions on all this stuff. And I think it would be really fun to interact with them, you know, and make a video for your entertainment. I think it would be interesting. Because when I sit here and talk into this rectangle, this phone, it's just me. It's just me and my thoughts, right? And so it's important to gather perspectives. I get that from my comment section for sure, but I think it's nice to have a conversation sometimes and then, you know, present it to you guys so you guys can give your thoughts on it as well. All right, this is just turning into a crazy ramble now, but I hope you're on board with this. This is a weird episode. It's just my thoughts going into 2021. I'm excited, hoping for the best, and I hope you guys stick around because I really enjoy doing this and I don't plan to stop anytime soon. So anyways, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this episode of the Knife Guy. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.